Let's go! That's us winning an absolutely crazy match to qualify for the main draw of Pro Mixed Doubles. And this has been my big goal for the year. So I was so happy. But the road of getting to this point has been anything but easy. The last time Malia and I played, we went 0-2. We didn't win a single match. I played absolutely terrible, but I've used that guilt as fuel for the last few months. In this video, we'll start with that traumatizing experience, walk through what I did so that I would never feel that way ever again, and we'll see how we did. Plus, you'll get to see which top pros we played in the main draw, how we did, and what we learned. This will be a crash course on mixed doubles and mental toughness, wrapped up in a redemption story.
Okay, what am I thinking about as I play tennis?
In April, I had just won a silver in a 5-0 men's tournament, so I was setting my eyes on a new goal, to win a 5-0 mixed tournament. But there was only one problem. I didn't know any girls, much less any girls that would want to play with me. But one day, I met Malia playing rec, and we played really well together, so later that day, I asked if she wanted to play a tournament with me. And to my delight, she said yes. Over the next few weeks, we'd play a lot of practice matches, and we'd usually win. Our strategy was really simple. In transition, we would just drive the crap out of the ball and crash, and we'd win a lot of free points that way. And if we ever had to go to the kitchen, Malia would just dink cross court, and I would sit middle and wait for a ball to put away. It was working really well. So I was feeling super confident going into this tournament, but then everything went sideways. In our first round match, we played these two teenagers, Aiden and Lauren. This was Aiden's first tournament ever, and Lauren had just started playing pro. Aiden had this really funky game where he moved around like a crab and was pancaking everything. And Lauren was just super solid, was playing really smart, not making errors. And Malia was playing great. There was only one problem, and it was me. I couldn't get us to the kitchen. My drives were going too high or in the net, and it just wasn't working. So I was starting to try to hit drops, but I hadn't been practicing drops, and my drops were going high or going into the net. It was absolutely miserable. So we ended up losing that match, and I felt so awful. Because losing's one thing. Losing when you can't even play your game is the worst. But I didn't have time to wallow in self-pity. We had a backdraw match to play, and if we played really well, we could still get bronze, but it only got worse. In the backdraw, I wasn't playing any better than that first match. And on top of that, I started a foot fault. By the end of the game to 15, I'd foot faulted 4 times. That's almost 30% of the points. We lost 16-14. If I wasn't foot faulting, we would have won. I was absolutely mortified. It felt awful, but it ended up being useful because I used it as motivation to make sure that this would never happen again. Over the next few months, I dialed in, but first I needed a plan. My problem was that I was getting tight in high pressure situations. What was working in practice wasn't working in tournament. So how could I play loose? I broke it down into 2 pieces. First, I needed to have good shots. And then second, I needed to trust those shots. So my plan to get good shots was to just drill more. I wanted all the balls that I was going to receive to feel like second nature to me. Second and more important thing was to trust my shots. And that had to do a mental game. So I had to figure out how to develop a strong mental game and bring that to the tournaments. Drilling was easy. Transition drills and kitchen drills translate really well into mixed. And if you want to specialize for them, you can even play your side, for me it was the left, and then see if you can do 3-person drills with a guy on your right and then a girl in front of you. I made an entire video about drilling, so if you want to watch that, the link is in the description. But the mental game aspect of this was new. I remembered from my tennis days that there was a really great book that helped me called The Inner Game of Tennis, which also happens to be one of Bill Gates' favorite books.
The basic idea, which I had never seen before, the default way that we manage our mental state probably is not helpful.
And there's this great section on how to perform and essentially not be tight, how to bring best game from practice into tournaments. Big idea of the book is that there are 2 selves inside of us. One self that is thinking and one self that is doing. And that until we can quiet the one that's thinking, we'll not reach our potential to learn and perform.
The idea is to just let the body do what it's capable of doing. But that's hard because your mind is always there saying, I want to do better, I want to do better, I want to get this ball over.
This was actually a huge wake-up call for me because when I was reflecting on what happened in that tournament, my experience was I'd hit a bad shot, I would think about it, I would judge myself, and then I would try to make a plan to hit the next one better. Like, hey, that one was too high, so to hit it lower, maybe you'll to contact it further in front of you, or closer to you, or follow through more, follow through less, or change your grip to hit more topspin or whatever. All these little micro adjustments that I was trying to make in the middle of a high pressure situation, and that was not working. Every time it didn't work, I felt more down on myself, and I would think like, you suck. Why are you tanking like this? You're terrible. And in the book, the point is that those thoughts are actually what's causing the bad performance. So the more you try to fix it, the less likely you are to play well. Instead, what he says you should do is empower the second self, that's the doer. And in order to do that, you need to shut up the part of your brain that's talking, visualize the outcome you want. So instead of thinking like, I need to follow through more, or I need to bend my wrist or whatever, visualize what kind of shot you want to hit. So in this case, like if it's a drive, like I wanted to go over the middle of the net, about a foot of clearance, and then land somewhere between the kitchen line and the baseline. And the third thing is to trust yourself. You know how to do it, that you've done it in the past, that inside of you is somebody who hits the shot well, and not overthink it. And then finally, to concentrate really hard. In the book, he says that just staring really closely at the ball is one of the best ways to do this. And he even mentions like on a tennis ball, looking for the seams. You can't really do that on pickleball because it's just a bunch of holes. But the idea is to really, really make deep eye contact with the ball.
All you need to do is watch the ball, okay?
Bounce.
The key of all the exercises in the inner game is to focus the mind's attention somewhere where it will not interfere with the body's ability to hit the ball automatically.
There's also this clip of the author kind of singing when he's serving. And the point he's trying to make is that when you sing, you shut off that thinking mind that's like, oh, I need to hit the toss like this and then snap my wrist and all that stuff. Instead, if you trust yourself, then you can even just like, you can sing, and that'll shut off your thinking mind and just allow you to get into the flow state where you're just hitting the ball the way you know how to. So that was my plan. I was gonna drill a lot to develop good shots, and then I was gonna learn to trust myself by focusing on the principles in the inner game of tennis. Shutting up the thinking mind and trusting the doing mind, empowering the doing. I applied this in games and practice, and it went decently well. But at this stage, we were practicing with pros, so what was working in 4-5 and 5-0 was not working. And this led me to the realization that maybe driving everything actually wasn't a good strategy. But more on that later. The day of the tournament was creeping up. I was really excited on the day of the tournament. Yes, it was my opportunity to achieve my big pickleball goal for the year, but more importantly, it was my opportunity to redeem myself and prove that I could play a tournament without tanking and be a good partner in mixed. And keep my feet out of the kitchen. That was important. We would either have to play 2 or 3 matches to qualify. And luckily, we only had to play 2. The first match, we won. It was pretty routine, didn't have to do anything special. It was kind of a warm-up match. But in the side of my eye, I was seeing the match that was next to ours, and we would play the winner of that match. They seemed good. And after stalking the draw a little bit, I confirmed that both teams were actually really good. So I knew we had a battle ahead of us. We were really dialed in and started that second match, the one we really needed to win to qualify, hot. We were up fast. We weren't making any errors. We were getting the kitchen every time. It was beautiful. We won that first game 11-3. Then the second game, they started playing really well. It was a close game from start to finish. And at one point, we were up 10-9, and we had match point, but they saved it. And then went back and forth, over and over again, both of us having multiple game points. Until at 13-13, my mom, who was filming, was so stressed that she couldn't film anymore. And thanks in large part to Malia playing super clutch, just playing really great, we were able to win 17-15 in one of the craziest games that I've ever played. And we qualified, and I was so excited. And what was funny is Malia didn't even realize that we had qualified. She thought maybe we had another match.
Well, I didn't even know we qualified.
So yeah, that was a really big milestone. I was so pumped, but there wasn't any time to rest. We had a main draw match to play. And our opponents were Lindsay Newman, Riley Newman's sister, who's had multiple medals in PPA, and her partner Yvonne, who was a really talented pro. We didn't play our best, and we lost. I'm not sure we ever really believed that we could beat them, which is maybe a topic for another day. But we had a good experience, and it was a decently close match. But here are a couple highlights anyways, because this is my channel, and if I want to put some highlights in, I can. Oh, and I didn't have any foot faults the entire day, so that's a big win. Earlier in this video, I mentioned that qualifying for a main draw was my big, first year of playing pickleball goal. But there were a lot of milestones in between starting and getting to this point. I walked through all of them in my video on how to get from beginner to 5-0. So if you want some ideas on how to advance your own game, check out that video.